Good morning. I'll call the meeting to order. To begin, I'll call for a motion and second for approval of the minutes of the regular commission meeting of January 10th, 2024.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. We'll move to the executive director's report.
Terrific. Thank you, Madam President. Good morning, everyone. First, welcome new employees. Nice to see you back there. Hello, Rick and Anna. Nice to see you as well. Welcome. President Cooper-Comus's husband and daughter. I calling on you as you walk in late, but you know, that's just because I'm that kind of guy. We just spent a few minutes with the new employees. Really excited to have a bunch of new folks joining with diverse perspectives and diverse jobs in the port. Truly our best resource at the organization, so I'm thrilled to see everyone here this morning. I would like to acknowledge the port's monthly safety champions. I think up here we'll be posting them and the stories that go with them in all the port facilities. I'll just note again, some great stories of folks who are watching out for each other, watching out for employees, and also for guests and visitors, and people who are raising the flag when something happens and saying that I see something that's dangerous or a risk to people, and I'm going to do something about it. So really appreciate the Erics and Clay and Robert. Thank you to our safety champions. If I could have Kama come up and do our safety moment. Good morning. The light is on. Give it a second.
Now it is on. Give it a second. Got it. Okay. Good morning. I'm Kama Simons, the Senior Manager of PDX Airside Operations and General Aviation Airports. I have oversight of operations and maintenance activities at the Port's GA airports in Hillsborough and Troutdale, and I'm responsible for the programs, processes, and projects on the PDX airfield. Everything the airfield operations team does, from working with airlines and federal partners to inspecting pavement, fence lines, and lighting, to making sure PDX adheres to regulatory standards, is done with safety front of mind. We are mindful of the port's key safety and health program attributes. We understand that employee safety is paramount, guiding principle at the port, and we demonstrate that everyone is responsible for safety at all times. This safety first mentality drives our actions in daily operations as well as during emergencies. I'm sure you're all now familiar with the recent door plug incident, which resulted in an aircraft returning to PDX missing part of its fuselage. Thankfully, this in-flight emergency was expertly and professionally handled by well-trained crew. It also serves as a reminder to all the airport operations team members about the value of our safety processes and protocols. While there has been much regulatory review and media coverage surrounding this incident, it's notable that our airport operations team quietly and professionally focused on safety first in that moment, just as they continue to do day in and day out. When Flight 1282 landed in Portland, our team leapt into action, thinking simultaneously about the safety of the passengers on board and about the continued operational safety of all the other airlines and passengers at PDX. Not yet knowing the outcome of the incident they were witnessing, operations staff set aside their emotions and relied on their training and preparation. Some staff responded to the gate to assist deplaning passengers and paramedics, while others checked and rechecked airfield runways and taxiways for possible debris and clues to the origin of the incident. Others still thought holistically about the safety and privacy of those who would be impacted by this event and secured the area around the aircraft, trying to keep curious bystanders from the scene. This was a dynamic incident that showcased how operating safely is not just the absence of injuries, but rather the presence of thoughtful actions. I'm proud of the work the team did that night, just as I'm proud of the work that they do each and every day to ensure we operate a safe airfield. Thank you.
Thank you, Kama. Come on in, plenty of seats. Welcome. Appreciate the message, Kema, and as I'll note in just a second, we did have Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg here Monday and Tuesday this week. We were up in the tower with him, and you could still see the Alaska Airlines plane out parked and being investigated. And it was just a reminder that our air operations team, our fire department, our team was just top notch in that whole situation, and I'm really, really proud of that work. I do note, well, there it is. We had a great visit last month with port commissioners out at the TCOR project. It is coming along, as we've talked about. It was a lot of fun to be out there. There he is. There's Pete Buttigieg. It is just week to week as you get out there, it is progressing. The teams are really focused on safety and schedule. It is coming together, and we're looking at May 22nd, am I right, Vince, for the doors to open. So really excited about that. I'll note on the visit of the Secretary of Transportation, he came, we got to show him a little bit of the inside of TCOR. He did an interview out there with KGW about infrastructure. We went up in the tower and were able to, Dan Pippinger and I were able to pitch him a little bit on the need for a resilient runway here. He was very smart. He's one of those guys when you talk with him, you go, right, he's a lot smarter than I am. Maybe the rest of you wouldn't do that, but that's absolutely what I did. He's very impressive. I also got to spend a little bit of time with him yesterday out at the Interstate Bridge Replacement Project with a number of elected officials and folks from the project to talk about the $600 million that the federal government is bringing to that project. Really exciting. We've been focused on replacement of the Interstate Bridge for some time, and it looks like that project is actually coming together. So it was really a great visit. We've also had some visitors out at Terminal 2, as well as looking at the mass timber out at the airport. We had the Oregon Forest Resources Institute recently to look at T2 and the work we're doing around mass timber housing, thinking more and more about supply chain and what role the port can play in the sort of game-changing projects around mass timber. It was really terrific. Keith and I have spent a fair amount of time, and thank you, Commissioners Luther and Koba, for helping us on the Terminal 6 work. We are really focused on talking with our customers, talking with our business partners around the Marine Terminal 6 and container service. We have some upcoming stakeholder meetings in Boardman, Albany, Aurora. I know I'm missing one, but Portland, thank you. Getting out and about to talk about the ongoing challenges at T6, the issues we're facing, and our hope to maintain service there for Oregon businesses. We are ringing in Lunar New Year and marking the beginning of the Year of the Dragon. On Sunday, we celebrated out at PDX with the White Lotus Dragon and Lion Dance. I know, Commissioners, you have an envelope in front of you with some chocolates and coins. Just a lot of fun, and appreciate Commissioner Lamb in particular for helping us get organized out there, and the celebration has just been a lot of fun. And then finally, the one I want to cry over. It is a bittersweet day for us. This is the last day we have Alice Kupro-Comas as our commission president. Alice has been on the commission since October of 2015 and has served as commission president since January of 2018. It's been a remarkable time for the port. I have a list of milestones that go on, but I'll just name some of them that we did in your term, both as a commissioner and as commission president. We talked actually with new employees about the COVID response and the pandemic, general fund sustainability push and getting our general fund on sustainable footing. A remarkable shift in organizational culture around safety and keeping all of our people safe. You hired just an exceptional executive director. I can't say enough about that move. A real focus on PDX Workplace Initiative and people who I know we'll hear from some later this morning, but from people who work here at PDX. Opened a new rental car facility, parking garage, Concourse B and Concourse E extension. You must have voted 15 or 20 times, if not 30 or 40, on TCOR and the progress of that project. New service, air cargo service to Asia, opened direct flight to London. We announced at least a direct flight to Korea. We're still waiting for that one to kick in, but property developments at Gresham Vista and at Troutdale Reynolds, and on, Terminal 2 and mass timber innovation and so on. I think for me, most importantly, you really helped push the organization and encourage us around what it is to be an equitable organization, to be a welcoming organization and an inclusive one, to think about our impact in the community, and included both a commission policy on social equity, but also encouraging us as leaders to really own the space and engage with our community and in making our community better. So I will say we have the tradition of a Pendleton blanket, but I would ask Port employees and commissioners to join me in thanking Commissioner Kupro-Comas for exceptional service and for support over these 8 years. And that, Madam President, is all of my remarks today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Curtis, and thanks to all of you. I will say that my work here has been a privilege and a delight working with the staff and on behalf of the community. And I was reminiscing this morning and thinking about the very first issue that was brought to this body when I became chair was the shared prosperity social equity policy, and I'm really proud of the work that we have all done together. So thank you. With that, I will call for motion and second to approve the executive director's report. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to the public comment period. We've received written comments from Blaine Ackley and members of SEIU Local 49. The following individuals would like to provide public comment. We'll start with a virtual comment. Blaine Ackley, if you're available.
Yes, I'm available. Can you hear me?
We can. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. President Kupro-Comas, Vice President Alexander, and commissioners, happy Valentine's Day and happy birthday to Oregon. I'm back again to add my comments from the December meeting concerning the presentation by Mr. Pippenger. You are the commissioners and he works for you. If he isn't giving you all the information, you can demand more from him. Let us review what he said on December the 13th. Quotation, "It is imperative for the port to move to unleaded fuel," unquote. The port is, quotation, "committed to this, and we want to do it, quote, as quickly as we can get it." Quote, "This is a priority." Furthermore, he said that the port is in close contact with GAMI on a monthly basis, and we have been doing that for quite a while. Now here is the rest of the story that Mr. Pippenger left out. I contacted George Braley at GAMI. He said he remembers a couple of phone calls from someone at the port, but none of them were substantive. In other words, no orders were placed, nor was there any interest expressed in placing an order. Here's what Mr. Braley suggested that if Mr. Pippenger wanted to, he could do if he were serious about obtaining unleaded fuel at HIO. Write a formal letter of interest to the port's fuel distributor for HIO requesting the GAMI fuel, with a copy of the letter sent to Mr. Braley. And I included in my comments a copy of what that letter might look like. And then you could contact VTOL Aviation in Houston, Texas, which is the distributor for the GAMI fuel. And Mr. Braley told me that if everything is ready to go with a fuel tank ready for G100UL at HIO, the port is seriously interested in pursuing this, and he could have that by late March or early April. If adopting an unleaded aviation fuel is truly the priority that Mr. Pippinger says it is, then he could be transparent with the commission by providing all the facts. He could have done this quite easily by just calling Mr. Braley. The GAMI G100UL will be delivered to some California ports beginning next month. Hillsborough could be on that list because the West Coast is the priority rollout for the fuel. In previous testimony, Mr. Pippinger and Ms. Simons indicated that the port was participating in the PAFI, Piston Aviation Fuels Initiative, to develop an unleaded fuel by 2030. I just wanted to let you know that of the two participating company groups in that PAFI program, Phillips 66 and Afton Chemical, as of January 15th, dropped out of that program and they suspended all further research. And the other remaining company group, Lindahl and VP Racing, has advanced to the testing phase. But that means nothing. It took GAMI 10 years in the testing phase. A question for the commission to consider is, why is the port still participating in a program that is testing an unleaded gas when there is already an improved fungible product that is available right now? We have been waiting for the port to do something for 13 years that's been filled with obfuscation, misinformation, half-truths, as I have demonstrated today in my testimony. So now the commission is experiencing what we in Hillsborough have been experiencing for 13 years. I hope you commissioners will demand more from the port staff than what you have been receiving so far about bringing unleaded fuel to HIO. You have public health, safety, and a moral responsibility to demand more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Mickey Barnes, also virtually. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
We can, yes.
Okay. President Kupro-Comas and members of the commission, thank you for this opportunity. I want to begin by thanking you for initiating the Hillsborough Airport Roundtable discussions on transitioning to unleaded aviation fuel. Your efforts to eliminate this toxic avgas are commendable and appreciated. Secondly, I want to reiterate the offer from Earth Justice, the nonprofit law firm that was instrumental in persuading the EPA to issue an endangerment finding on unleaded aviation fuel. Someone from this organization is willing to come to Portland and offer a presentation to the Board of Port Commissioners. The next issue is related to, for some time I've been trying to determine how much leaded fuel has been sold at the Hillsborough Airport over the past 20 years or so. I looked at the port minimum standard document for the Hillsborough Airport, and it says that the three fixed-based operators at the Hillsborough Airport, Hillsborough Aviation, Aero Air, and Global Aviation, have to sell both jet fuel and leaded fuel, or make arrangements to ensure that they are being sold. The same does not seem to apply to Hillsborough Aero Academy. It's not an FBO, but yet it's the biggest user of the airport. It appears that they do have 2 above ground tanks on their site. So, we're trying to understand better how fuel is sold, purchased, and distributed in relation to the airport. I do have essentially a public records request that I've included in this testimony, and I won't go over it all, but I would like to obtain fuel flowage fee data for Hillsborough Airport to include FBO summary reports on purchased, delivered, and dispensed fuel. on a monthly and annual basis over the most recent 20-year period. In addition, the FBOs are required to make arrangements with reputable aviation petroleum supplier distributors for the delivery of aviation fuels. That's a quote from the minimum standards. I'd like to find information about these distributors as well, precise information on the amount of fuel being distributed to whom, and just to understand what the process is. There's a lot I don't quite grasp about how this works. So the more detailed request will be in the written submission. But in the, now another point I want to make is in December, at the December port meeting, the work on transitioning to an unleaded fuel was conflated with starting electric aircraft training at HIO. That was a unilateral statement. The public had no voice in it. And it does concern me. General aviation, and I do think it's commendable the way the port handled that Alaska flight when the door plug, burst out of the plane. And I'm really glad that no one was killed. I mean, there were some injuries, but no one died, which is incredibly fortunate. The same cannot be said for GA. According to the NTSB Safety Board, between 2012 and 2021, there were a total of 12,368 general aviation accidents in the US, including 3,817 deaths. This averages out to 3.4 GA accidents and 1 fatality somewhere in this country every single day. Accidents of this nature are frequent occurrences in Oregon. In the 10-week period between October 2nd and December 16th of 2023, 5 flight students died in aviation accidents. The one on October 2nd involved a Hillsborough Aero Academy instructor and student pilot perishing when their aircraft crashed into a home in Newburgh. A third person on board was seriously injured. Roughly 2 weeks later, another Hillsborough Aero Academy aircraft was involved in a crash. This one took off from the Redmond Airport. The impact, quote, this is a quote from a news article, a small brush fire burned roughly 2.5 miles and a BPA transmission line was damaged due to the crash. Unquote. The student pilot sustained minor injuries. Fortunately, there was no fatality there. On December 16th, 3 Afghani refugees, a pilot and 2 passengers, perished when the aircraft in which they were flying crashed into power lines near Independence, Oregon. All were flight students. The aircraft ignited a small fire upon impact. In addition, 5,500 residents were without power for an hour. I think given the dangerousness of general aviation, the public should have a voice, because more and more we're seeing accidents where people on the ground are killed. Clearwater, Florida, just a couple of weeks ago.
Sorry to interrupt you. If you could please wrap up. We have other folks who are signed up for public comment, and I want to make sure they have some time as well.
Actually, that is the end of my comments. I think Blaine covered the PAFI part of it. So I thank you for this opportunity. And
Thank
please
you very much.
include these written comments in the minutes of the meeting.
Yes, thank you. They've been received.
Thank you.
We have folks here in the audience who've signed up for public comment. I'll just name them in order. Stan Edwards, Raquel Trivello, and Leonila Villalobos. You can come up in whichever order you prefer.
Morning, Madam President, Commissioners.
Good morning. Can you make sure if the green light is on?
Yes, that's on now.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. My name is Stan Edwards. I have worked for Huntley USA as a passenger service agent for here at PDX for over 10 years. I'm a member of the SEIU Local 49. It's good to be here again. I was here in May last year. I'm here today again to talk about how critical it is for the port to pass a policy for healthcare for airport workers. I lived in this community all my life. I have 2 kids and 7 grandkids, and I am proud of the work that I do. I push wheelchairs for PDX passengers. I love my job. I love talking to people. I'm getting to know them. It's exciting. No 2 days are the same. I'm proud to say that I work here at PDX, but the reality is much harder. My employer offers open enrollment health care plan that is so expensive. Most of us cannot afford it. In the 10 years I've been here at PDX, I've never had health insurance. Even on the marketplace, I can't afford the plans, especially the low wages that we are paid. Then you throw in other bills like rent, car insurance, utilities. It's just, excuse me, it's too much. I'm asthmatic and diabetic, so my health care and my meds are expensive and paid out of pocket. And sometimes I must decide if either I'm going to put gas in my car or buy these expensive medications. So I can see the next day, the week, or month. A little bit dramatic, but other people are going through the same thing. It'll be if you guys pass this affordable quality health insurance, it'll be a lot easier for me and my wallet. I recently went online to see how much marketplace insurance would be. One company quoted me $354 per month for the type of insurance I need. Obviously, I can't afford that. There's more people on the job who are in the same situation as I am. All I'm saying is this: if you want us to show up for these jobs and be productive, please take care of us with affordable quality health insurance. There's a lot of older people like myself who do this job with some type of health issues. If you want us to take care of the passengers here at PDX, take care of us when we're sick. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much. Please.
Good morning. My name is Leonela Villalobos. Señora Presidenta Capel-Combs y miembros de la Comisión del Puerto. Soy Leonela Villalobos, trabajo para Honey USA. Estuve aquí hace unos meses atrás apelando a su buen corazón y explicando a su vez por qué para gente como yo evitar un seguro de cuidado. Más ahora estoy aquí como empleada, como compañera y amiga.
Commission President Capel-Combs and members of the Port Commission. Hello, I'm Leonela Villalobos. I work for Huntley USA. I was here a few months ago appealing to your good heart and explaining why medical care insurance is vital for people like me. Now I'm here as an employee, colleague, and friend.
Como le dije en septiembre, sufro la enfermedad de von Willebrand, migrañas y asma. Actualmente dependo de un medicamento esencial para los dolores de cabeza. Su nombre es Ajovy. Cuesta $423 por mes. No es el único medicamento, pero sí es uno que casi cuesta lo que gano por una semana de trabajo. Si no lo uso, podría ser fatal. Sufriría hemorragias internas nasales, lo que agravaría mi problema de hemorragia ya existente.
As I told you in September, I suffer from von Willebrand disease, from migraines and asthma. I currently depend on essential medication for headaches. Its name is Ajovy. It costs $423 per month. It's not the only medication, but yes, it is one that almost costs what I make for a week of work. If I don't use it, it could be fatal. I would suffer from nosebleeds, aggravating my existing bleeding problem.
Les pido en nombre de cada uno de mis compañeros que por favor opten por un seguro médico digno. Estoy aquí hoy para pedir que el puerto de Portland garantice que nuestras compañías inviertan en trabajadores de PDX. La salud no es negociable. No exigimos más de lo que damos. Sacrificamos tiempo con nuestra familia, servimos durante feriados, llevamos nuestro trabajo más allá del deber, merecemos estar saludables.
I ask you on behalf of each of my colleagues to please opt for decent medical insurance. I'm here today to ask the Port of Portland to ensure that our companies invest in PDX workers. We know the Port of Portland is working on a health policy. Health is not negotiable. We do not demand more than we give. We sacrifice time with our family. We serve during holidays, and we take our work beyond the call of duty we deserve to be healthy. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Yeah. Commission, President Corporal Collins, and members of the Port Commission, good morning. My name is Raquel Travilla. I work for G2 Secure Staff as a cabin cleaner for almost 2 years now. Cleaning Delta Airline planes, I am proud of the work that I do that keeps aircraft clean and ready to fly. I'm here today to ask that the port ensure that all PDX workers have access to a good health plan. I struggle to get a health care on the wages that we earn. I'm glad that the port requires the companies to pay a bit more than the minimum wage and that we fought for more through our union. Still, the health insurance that all the companies provide is expensive. I was injured on the job almost a year ago, and I've continued to struggle to get better. Recently, my doctor said that I would need to reduce my hours to prevent more injury. I'm only working 15 hours per week now to avoid getting hurt. Even with fewer hours, my healthcare premiums remain the same. Now that I only work 15 hours a week, it's hard to afford to pay $110 per paycheck. That premiums hurt my family. We as PDX employees don't have a good medical insurance. Even if we are covered, I have a bill from the doctor that costs $3,000. I don't have that kind of money to pay a medical bill. I've called the company to ask for a payment plan to slowly pay this bill. I hope that the PDX workers can win a health care policy that we don't have to worry whether we can afford the care we need. I look at our current health plan description. In the examples, someone with our company's health plan would have to pay $11,500 of a total cost of $12,800 for the cost of related to childbirth. Managing diabetes could cost $6,800 out of pocket from a total estimated cost of $7,400. I couldn't afford those costs. Even when I'm working 40 hours, it is still too expensive for PDX workers who are only getting $18.25 an hour to pay high health care premiums. And when we have insurance, we still must pay for labs for medications. I certainly cannot pay thousands of dollars for any serious medical issue. I'm here today to ask you to please be the voice for us, for the PDX workers, to have an affordable or free healthcare insurance plan. We are essential workers at the airport. We work with people all day, and we all get sick probably more frequently than many others. Without us, the airport doesn't run. You are investing money in the buildings, and we are here to ask you to invest in the people too who make the PDX. Once again, good morning. I'm Raquel Trujillo from G2. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming to speak on this important issue. I know it's something the port is working on. We'll move to our general discussion item. So I think, Curtis, you're introducing it.
Again, commissioners, thank you for the time. As you know, February is Black History Month. We have a very vibrant and active employee resource group. ABLE, are you ready, April? I'm going to call you up here in just a second. That helps to celebrate the richness and depth of Black people and Black leadership at the port. This month, we're focusing on the intersection of African Americans and the arts. At headquarters and around the airport, we're thrilled to showcase the exceptional talent of local Black artists all month long. And we have April Murchison and Antoinette Chandler in a surprise appearance. But tell me, who am I handing over to?
That would
April,
be
are you
me.
ready to go? Thank you for coming this morning. What we're going to hear from April and Antoinette on is what's going on and a bit about Black history and leadership in aviation and port history. So thank you, April, for coming.
Good morning, and thank you for having us. Welcome to February, the month that we celebrate Black History Month. My name is April Murchison. I've been here for about 26 years next month. And so I am glad and excited to be the current chair for the Alliance of Black Employees. So again, thank you for having us here in this moment. ABLE hosted our first inaugural meeting on October the 8th in 2018. We overviewed what value we would have and what we could provide to the port. We reviewed and collected input for the drafted charter. We voted in officers, and then we began our planning for the 2019 Black History Month. The rest is history, and I'm glad to say that we continue to create history, and we're building from the foundation that has been laid from our past chairs, Mr. Edward McDonald, Mrs. Nicole Murphy Garcia, Mrs. Nina Jones, and Mr. Jimmy Porter. I'm glad to follow in their footsteps. Today, I was looking forward to the privilege of introducing someone else to read our Black History Month statement, but I have the privilege and the opportunity to do that for you this morning. So go along on this journey with me. We, the Alliance of Black Employees of the Port of Portland, are excited for this opportunity to stand before our Port Commission, our port teams, to acknowledge Black History Month 2024 and invite you to participate in the remaining port celebrations. This year, we acknowledge the national theme, African Americans and the Arts, recognizing the many contributions that Black people of the diaspora, including but not limited to African, Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Latino, and African Americans have had on visual arts, music, cultural movement, and so much more. The port-sponsored events this month celebrate a variety of art forms, including music and dance, fashion, photography, cooking, and amazing inventions. Additionally, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge the individuals that have impacted Black history and our world. Black leaders and trailblazers in aviation, maritime, and navigation, whose innovation and perseverance have profoundly shaped the industries. To be more specific, we celebrate the pioneering spirit and unwavering determination of individuals like Bessie Coleman, the first Black woman to hold a pilot's license, whose courage and passion for aviation inspired future generations. We honor the legacy of Alfred Chief Anderson, known as the father of Black aviation, whose instrumental role in training Tuskegee Airmen significantly impacted aviation history. We pay tribute to the dedicated service and leadership of Captain Hugh Molzak, the first Black man to command a fully integrated U.S. merchant ship during World War II, breaking barriers in the maritime industry. We elevate the Black Rosies of World War II, working in shipyards and exploring economic opportunities that paved the way for women like me, Black women, to earn money outside of domestic labor. We recognize the exceptional contributions of York, an enslaved Black man who was an integral member of the Lewis and Clark expedition along the Oregon Trail during the historic journey of exploring and discovery. And finally, we memorialize Letitia Carson, a formerly enslaved Black woman and the first to own land right here in Oregon under the Homestead Act of 1862, at a time in our state's history when Black people were not allowed to own land. So we acknowledge the talent and the resilience of the past and the current Port of Portland Black staff, from contractors to landscapers, from administrators to custodians, from IT to operations, from shipbuilders to sailors, from engineers to planners, from artists to architects, and the many more who have played pivotal roles in advancing the work and service of the Port of Portland and ports across the nation. And finally, as we continue, and we will continue this journey to achieve shared prosperity, we remain committed to honoring this rich history, and we stand in solidarity with Port leadership as we work together to eradicate racism, discrimination, bigotry, and intolerance. We know we can only achieve this by focusing on addressing historical inequities, celebrating our successes, and leveraging our resources to make the organization and the region that each and every one of us love even better. So thank you. I sit here on behalf of ABLE, the Alliance of Black Employees, and we thank you for allowing us to come before you. And I want to say to each and every one of you, happy Black History Month. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was amazing.
That was fantastic. Thank you guys so much. April, wonderful job. And I'll just close with saying how proud I am to be a member, an African-American woman who's a member of this executive team, that I have the opportunity to come into this organization and be my true, authentic self. And I'm embraced and supported. So today I stand on the shoulders of all of our ancestors, some of whom you've highlighted today. And this is really a very proud day for me. So thank you all for your attention to this message. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have a couple of action items. Keith, I hope that you can follow up on that.
Sorry in advance. This is just not going to be anywhere near as interesting. Okay, Madam President, and it's been such a pleasure to work with you. This is an agenda item to approve a new collective bargaining agreement. This is a 4-year agreement with our Marine security personnel at Terminals 4 and Terminal 6. Blaze has done a great job. This is 3 out of 4 agreements that have now come before you from my new division. We've had our landscape crew, we've had navigation, and now we've got security, and then soon we'll have marine maintenance. So excellent job to Blaze. None of this is easy. You'll note the jurisdictional change of language with Terminal 2. That's really critical for us to move forward with our vision with mass timber. So with that, I'll have Blaze present the item.
Thank you, Keith. Good morning, Madam President and Commissioners. Next slide, please. Okay, highlights in this agreement. I want to note a couple things first. I want to acknowledge 3 people in the room who were involved in this bargaining. Bill McCormick is here today, who was on the management team, and 2 of the MSOs. Dan Hardesty served as chief negotiator, as Marine Security Officer for ILW 28, and Devin Lingo is also here today, I believe. So just acknowledging their work on this as well. This particular agreement is a 4-year extension of the previous agreement. As we negotiate these agreements, we look at both the CPI and the direction of the CPIW, which, while it continues to trend downward, we went through some unprecedented times over the previous year that has influenced where we are. This particular union had a 3% increase during a time when the CPI was up over 7, between 7 and 8. Actually, that was taken into account. And this group also, in the last 3 rounds of bargaining prior to this, had taken a 0 in the first years, or no increases to their base wages in the first years of the last 3 rounds of bargaining. I want to note too, this is the 16th CBA between the parties, so we actually have been negotiating contracts with this union, ILW 28, for over 50 years now here at the Port of Portland. Wages for this first year then are 6% retroactive, 6% in second year, and ranges in the third and fourth years depending on where it is reported. The CPIW West size Class A cities, second half that gets reported in January, ranges of 3.5 to 5% in years 3 and 4. Next slide, please. One of the key issues during this was a jurisdictional question at Terminal 2. There was a grievance on it the previous year that was put on hold. We did select an arbitrator, actually, and we held this case in abeyance pending negotiations. This dealt with jurisdiction regarding a military ship that was docked there at the former T2. So the jurisdictional issue became paramount, and we needed to resolve this. So the jurisdiction for security work, we got a clarification that it's contingent solely upon the return of that property to a marine cargo terminal. There's no jurisdiction if it is not returned to that. If it is, the jurisdiction of the traditional duties which they have performed would continue beyond to that point. There were changes in premiums. There was a limitation put on that you could have no more than 2 premiums under this contract. At the same time, the lead premium was increased from 10% to 15%. And there was an increase in the shift differential from 2% to 3% for, and this is for actual hours worked between 1800 or 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. during those periods. Next slide, please. Holidays, we added Juneteenth as a holiday to this group. This is the first time they came up where that was an issue to raise in negotiations, so that is added. There's also a lump sum for this group of a gross amount of $1,750 for those who are on payroll in a paid status at the time of the ratification vote. The uniform maintenance increased from $80 to $100 per month. That's the first increase, I think, in 2 CBAs on that account. Next slide, please. Those are the highlights, and here we show the estimated financial impact of this deal on new dollars in the 4 years of the contract, totaling an increase in new money over the life of the CBA attributable to this negotiation of $1,480,951. Next slide, please. The executive director's recommendation is an approval to enter into a 4-year collective bargaining agreement with the International Longshore and Warehouse Union 28.
Thank you. Commissioner, please go ahead.
Thank you. As business agent of ILW Local 8, I have an interest in any action that affects ILW. Therefore, I'm declaring as a potential but not actual conflict of interest, I will participate in the discussion vote. Thank you.
Thank you. I also wanted to acknowledge and thank the bargaining teams for the work here. Any questions or comments on the item? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for motion and second for approval of the recommendation. Thank you. We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll call on Steve Nagy to introduce our last agenda item. My last agenda.
Good morning, Commissioners, and congratulations on your last agenda item here. Exactly. I'm filling in for Dan Pippinger this week while he's off at a conference. This agenda item is to request an approval to award a contract, a public improvement contract for taxiways Alpha, Kilo, Tango, and the South Runway exits for pavement rehabilitation here at PDX. The port maintains a pavement management, pavement preservation program That is, the goal of it is to maximize the useful life of our pavements while also minimizing the costs associated with that operation of them. This project, which is an asphalt mill and inlay, is done to prevent that premature deterioration and failure, or sometimes to slow that rate of the asset's deterioration over time. The asphalt airfield pavements are typically last about 20 years in life, and we go back and continue to do these kind of public improvements during that 20-year lifespan. These pavements that Chris is going to talk about were last rehabilitated between 2006 and 2011. So I'm here to introduce Chris Edwards, the engineering project manager. Here's to present the recommendation on this project.
Good morning. Better now? Good morning. Could you go next slide, please? Today, I'm requesting approval to award a construction contract to Caney Excavating for the PDX taxiways A, K, T, and South Runway exits in the amount of a little over $10.4 million. Next slide. This shows the overall project site here at PDX. For orientation, the top of the screen is north, but as you can see, this project entails pavement rehabilitation throughout North and South Airfield. Those items in blue are the mill and inlay that Steve mentioned. That area in red is a full depth reconstruction. In addition to those, we also have lighting improvements, storm drainage, pavement markings, things of those nature. And as this is throughout all of our airfield, we worked very closely with our airside operations to develop a plan in order to minimize operations during construction. Next slide. This represents the overall schedule. The item bolded on the left is that action item before you today. But as you can see, this project will be constructed this summer. Next slide. Here's our overall budget and funding. Again, that contract before you today. Personal services, that's for our design consultant, electrical pre-purchase, long lead items. Port staff contracted services, that is for things like project management, testing, survey, a number of different items. Contingency is 10%, which is appropriate given the complexity of the project. It is funded by the FAA and Airline Cost Center in equal proportions. Our small business manager set the DBE goal as 12%, which was met by our contractor. Next slide. Staff requests approval of Executive Director's recommendation.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for motion for approval of the recommendation. Thank you. We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. I'm going to turn it over to Curtis for a moment.
Commissioners, I'd just like to make a quick recognition. Christina, as a surprise, we just announced yesterday our new Chief Development Services Officer. It's Christina Kelchner, who I think many of you have met before. She's going to start officially next week. And so thank you, Christina. I just wanted to highlight you. And then second, I would like to welcome officially Rick and Anya. Thank you both for coming. It's really nice to see you. Commission President Cooper Combs's spouse and daughter. It's been terrific having you guys be supporters as well. I know the burden of being a port commissioner tends to hit whole families and not just port commissioners. So thanks for being here today. Great to see you both.
Thank you. And with that, we're adjourned.
Hold on.
Oh, no, we're not adjourned.
Well, I do want to say, President Kumakumas, I mean, I personally thank you for your guidance in the early days as a new young commissioner to the board. Having you by my side really served with confidence, and for that I greatly appreciate it. And I know you led the port through the very challenging times since 9/11. That is noticed, and for sure we've missed your steady hand.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks. Now we're going to adjourn. Really. Thank you.